election bid in 2019, a human rights lawyer makes a second attempt for a Senate seat. Senatorial candidate Chel Diokno joins us live. Veteran election lawyer Romulo Macalintal has formally asked the Commission on Elections to temporarily suspend its Operation Baklas. Campaign supporters have cried foul over the past week as Comelec operatives pulled down privately funded or donated campaign materials. But the Legal Network for Truthful Elections, or LENTE, took a more sober tone, saying Comelec has the right to police oversized campaign posters.
If you are using, for example, a poster, you are using election paraphernalia, which can be treated as campaigning for a candidate, doon mako-cover ni Comelec. Kaya yung mga posters in private properties, dapat mag-follow siya doon sa 2x3. Yung mga posters na may vote for a certain candidate, vote for a certain political party.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or CBCP, pitches in to help choose who to vote for in the upcoming elections. Catholic bishops and CBCP President Pablo Virgilio David says a fitting president is one with integrity, is patriotic, and has the high moral ground. He or she must also be able to give a voice to the poor and the vulnerable and stand for what is right. The CBCP has not endorsed a presidential candidate but offered these criteria to further help Filipino voters choose the right leader.
Number 1, ang mabuting Kristiyano ay boboto ng tama at ayon sa konsensya. Siya ay boboto para sa kandidatong may tunay na determinasyon na matigil na ang illegal gambling, ang illegal drug trade, ang illegal logging, ang illegal mining, at iba pang mga industriya na nakasisira sa ating kalikasan, sa kultura at mabuting pagpapahalaga ng mga Pilipino. Siya ay boboto para sa magpapatuloy sa tunay na diwa ng people power revolution na nag-restore ng demokrasya sa ating bansa.
A human rights lawyer seeking a Senate seat wants to put teeth into the justice system. He first ran in 2019 under an opposition ticket that failed to win a single slot in the upper chamber. But with a new political party and an active social media presence, will he finally make it to the Senate? Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have senatorial candidate Chel Diokno. Attorney Chel, welcome back to the source. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, Pinky, and good morning to you and to everyone who's watching.
Before we talk about your run for the Senate, there are a number of issues, current issues that I want to discuss with you. Well, as a lawyer, first, let's talk about yung mga kababayan po natin sa Hong Kong. The latest count that I saw, there are about 59 or 60 OFWs infected with COVID in Hong Kong. We've heard horror stories such as one person, pinaalis po siya ng bahay ng kanyang amo at natulog ng ilang araw doon po sa mga upuan. Napakalamig po sa Hong Kong ngayon. Meron daw 3 to 5 that have been terminated because they tested positive for COVID. Attorney Chel, ano ho ba ang karapatan ng mga kababayan natin sa Hong Kong sakaling sila po ay paalisin ng kanilang mga amo? Meron ho ba silang choice?
Well, unang-una, nakakabahala at nakakagalit yung mga nangyayari sa ating mga kababayan sa Hong Kong. Ano na magagawa natin? Unang-una, I really hope our agencies in government step up and do everything they can to help our countrymen and countrywomen and also make sure that they are protected. Hindi naman po dapat na sila i-terminate dahil sila ay nagka-COVID. I don't believe that is a lawful ground for termination. Kung siyempre kailangan nila ng tulong, ang dapat na magbibigay ng assistance sa kanila ay ang ating pamahalaan.
Pero pagka paalisin ho sila talaga, Ano ho ba ang choice nila?
Well, dapat ikupkupin sila ng ating embahada doon, and we could also ask and seek the help of the Philippine community there. Yung ating mga kababayan doon who would lend a helping hand. Kung wala silang nararamdaman na tulong galing sa pamahalaan, then as we have done in the pandemic, let's help our countrymen and countrywomen.
It seems that they are getting some help and assistance at the moment, but I also read that one of the penalties that government can impose dito sa mga empleyado na ginagawa po ito sa mga kababayan natin ay iba blacklist sila. Seriously, sir, is that enough?
It's a step that should be taken, but whether that's enough, sa tingin ko, hindi pa rin sapat yun eh. In fact, well, one thing that has happened recently is we now have a new Department of Migrant Workers. Although that law was signed by the President, it will not really be operational until probably 2 years from now. But it should be create a more positive and responsive action from the government whenever we have situations like this. Kasi ang nangyayari, nadedehado yung ating mga kababayan na nasa ibang bansa at wala rin silang nararamdaman na agad-agad na tulong. Under this new law, there's supposed to be an action fund that will provide all forms of assistance, including legal assistance, to our overseas Filipino workers.
Let me shift topics, sir. Operation Baklas or Oplan Baklas. I'm going to be quite frank with you. There are so many sides to this. Some saying illegal nga ho yan kapag private property, kapag lumampas dito sa 2x3 mandated under the resolution of the Comelec, under the law. Ano po? Si Attorney Makalintal, sinabi na po nga na Comelec should suspend its Operation Baklas. Here's the thing, sir. While it stirred a controversy last week, according to Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez, I was able to interview him. Ang sabi niya, lahat naman sa kanyang pagkaalam, lahat po ng pinasukan nilang bahay ng Comelec ay may consent daw po. At pumayag na tanggalin itong mga posters. First, let's talk about that. Kung meron pong oversized, over 2x3 na posters sa loob ng private property, number one, meron ho bang karapatan ang Comelec pumatok at sabihin na pwede ba kaming pumasok sa inyong bahay dahil oversized po yung inyong posters?
Wala po sa aking pananaw. Dahil yan ay private property at hindi naman kandidato ang naglalagay noon. Ibang sitwasyon if a candidate were to request a private property owner to put a billboard or an oversized poster or tarp on that property. Talagang sakop yon ng Comelec dahil kandidato siya, pati partidong politikal. Pero ang ordinaryo mamamayan na sa sarili niyang bahay, sariling gastos ay maglalagay siya ng that is his right or her right. And I believe under the jurisprudence, especially the Diocese of Bacolod case, walang karapatan ang Comelec pasok doon at takunin yung private property din ng isang ordinaryong mamamayan sa kanyang bahay. Ngayon, nakakapagtaka yung sinasabi nilang pumapayag daw. When we speak of consent, it has to be voluntarily made. Kung ang kaharap mo ay isang pulis na armado at siya ang medyo mataas ang boses at siya ay humihingi ng pahintulot sa atin, madali pong pumayag. Pero ang tanong ay yun ba yung sapat na consent sa ilalim ng batas? I cannot believe that our volunteers and our supporters, I'm speaking generally here, generically, na sarili nilang gastos yung kanilang tarp o tarp poster, tapos papayag sila na ibibigay lang sa Comelec. Hindi ako makapaniwala po doon sa sinasabi nila. Kung talagang may consent, dapat ang consent na yun ay knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently made at dapat patunayan po ng Comelec yan. Pangalawa, yung mismo ang PNP ang naglabas sila ng announcement na hindi naman pala daw authorized ang mga pulis natin na mambaklas. And yet we have seen it go viral that they have been the ones who have been removing the posters and the tarps. Yes. At Pangatlo, sa akin, klarong-klaro yun na yung bakit hindi muna pinag-aralan ng Comelec yung batas at yung mga desisyon ng Korte Suprema bago nila ginawa. Kasi nakita natin, biglang umurong sila eh. Nung una, sabi ni James Jimenez, bawal lahat yan. Later on, sabi niya, kung may advocacy, ay pwede. Eh, bakit yan lang nila ginawa? Yan, nang baklas muna. And then later, ay, hindi pala lahat eh. Shouldn't we be expecting more from the Comelec? The other issue I have about this, what's happening is, sa nakikita ko sa social media, panay lang yung mga nasa oposisyon ang nambabaklas. Bakit wala akong nakikitang galing yung mga ibang kandidato ng mga kanilang mga billboard, poster ay nababaklas din? Eh kung patas ang batas, di dapat lahat po yan.
Can we zero
2015, if I'm not
mistaken
mistaken.
ruling of the Supreme Court on the Archdiocese of Bacolod versus Comelec? You're right in saying that per my interview as well and per my research, meron ho kasing sinasabi din si Director James na may pagkakaiba ho daw kasi ang advocacy versus speech. Katulad po yung nangyari doon sa Archdiocese of Bacolod, that's an advocacy. And according to him, and he did cite a part of that decision, that may distinction eh. So kumbaga, kung private property, pwedeng malaki, over 2/3, as long as it's an advocacy. But if it's speech, if it's endorsing a candidate, this is where the Comelec resolution under the Omnibus Election Code comes in, that you must restrict yourself to a 2/3 poster. Here's my question, Attorney Chel. Did the Supreme Court ruling somehow bring forth some sort of confusion, or to you is it clear?
To me, based on my readings of the decisions, not just the Diocese of Bacolod, but even previous jurisprudence, to me it's very clear that that is a right of every person covered by the Constitution and protected by the Constitution to advocate and to speak even on behalf of a candidate in their own private property, regardless of size. The speech that we're talking about is so vital in an election. While in the Diocese of Bacolod, actually that involved both kinds. You have, there were references in that billboard to particular candidates, but there
Right.
was also a reference to the issue involved. But-
Advocacy. Opo.
Yes. Now, but even if you accept, well, I do not accept it, but even if you accept this, why is it only now that the Comelec came out with that? Why did they not say from the very beginning, lahat ng mga billboard, the posters sa inyong mga bahay, kung walang advocacy yan, tatanggalin namin. They did not do that. They just went on and started taking down posters without even bothering to say that. And now they will say it na nabaklas na. E paano yung mga binaklas na nila dati? Anong gagawin nila doon? Paano yung ginastos na mga botante, yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan para ilagay yung mga poster na yun? What are they going to do about that?
Okay, just as a last question on this, because mahaba-haba pa ho ito. Kasi napag-uusapan din dito sa Operation Baklas yung freedom of expression and freedom of speech. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is under the Bill of Rights. The point here is, according to Director James, it is not absolute. What do you say to that?
That's true. Freedom of speech is not absolute, but any kind of restrictions must be based on the law. They must be reasonably applied, and they must not discriminate against any particular group or person. And any restrictions must meet what is known as the clear and present danger test that is provided by jurisprudence in our country. In fact, while it is not absolute, any kind of restrictions are really strictly scrutinized by the court, because we're talking about a very basic right. Freedom of speech is the cornerstone of our democracy. If we cannot even speak freely, especially in an election, then what does that freedom mean? It will mean nothing. And that's why ako talaga ay nababahala, kasi parang there was a very clear attempt to silence speech without even looking at the law and without even saying from the beginning, oy ha, kung advocacy yan, pwede. Walang ganon. They just went on and used the heavy hand of the law to go after what they perceived and not what the law said was illegal.
Okay, Attorney Chel, we'll talk about your priorities at the Senate should you make it to the Magic 12. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines, I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, senatorial candidate, Attorney Chel Diokno. Attorney, I hope you don't mind. There are three things that I still want to talk about, current issues as well. Yung pong kay Dr. Nati, yung kanyang arrest, do you see anything wrong with the conduct of her arrest?
Definitely. There were very clear violations in the law and in the procedure of her arrest. In the first place, we now have a body cam law that requires that the police use body cameras in effecting this type of arrest. And we're wondering what happened with that law? Why was that law not implemented in this particular case? There were issues as well of access of counsel and family. When the family and lawyers went to visit her at Camp Crame, while she was definitely there, they were denied access to her. There were also issues about her need to have medication. Dr. Castro really needs medication that was initially denied to her, despite the pleas of the family to give her access because she really needed it. The family was so concerned about what had happened and how it was, how the process was being followed. Plus the fact that I do have a question even about the basis for the arrest itself, because based on the records, the name Castro does not appear in the warrant of arrest issued by the court. So ano ngayon ang basis sa pagka-aresto sa kanya? This is really a prime example of the strong arm of the law, to the heavy hand of the law against an ordinary person.
Could you say that again, Attorney Chel, that her name was not part, because there are supposed to be so many names regarding an arrest of an unnamed person. Am I correct? You said that her name was not part of that, 300 or 400 people?
The name Castro does not appear in the warrant of arrest.
And so what is the basis of her arrest?
Exactly. I think the Philippine National Police should explain that.
Okay, let me go to another subject. Ito pong, I don't know if you care to comment, because this is also, ang dami pong nagbibigay ng reaction dito po sa nangyari sa PNP helicopter that crashed the other day. Sinabi na po ni PNP chief na susunduin po siya dyan po sa Balisin after his private time because there was no way for him to get back to Manila to attend also the flag raising ceremony. In a situation like this, can the PNP chief use the PNP helicopter to bring him back to Manila, or is this a violation of any law or charter within the PNP?
Ang tanong po dyan ay, Pinky, pwede bang gamitin ang ating resources ng ating pamahalaan when clearly this was a private function that was involved? And there are, in my opinion, that is not and should not be allowed. That would be a violation of the code of conduct of public officers, as well as other laws that make those kinds of actions violations of the law.
Okay, I want to talk about your Senate run. The Pulse Asia survey puts you at number 21 to 28. However, there's a Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines survey that put you at number 3. I think ang nauna si Senator Cheese, and then Senator Risa, and then Attorney Chel Diokno. I want to go first to the Pulse Asia survey. Is this still encouraging for you?
Well, surveys are just a snapshot of the respondents' opinion or perception at that particular time when it was made. And sa tingin ko, masyado pa maaga to really say that a candidate's chances are good or bad based on the results of the survey at this time. Kung mga April na yan, then ibang usapan yan. The surveys, in fact, provide incentives to candidates like me and to our supporters to work extra hard. Because, elections really put us progressive candidates at a disadvantage. We don't have the kind of resources and financial war chest that other candidates have. And that really makes it harder for us to raise our awareness. When it comes to conversion, I think we're very good at it. But in terms of awareness, we really need a boost. And that's what we're working for. And that's the challenge really in every election.
Have you done a comparison, and I'm thinking you have, no, from this month compared to the last elections in 2019 and how you're faring? Is your standing better now than it was, let's say, in February of 2019?
Definitely. In 2019, my awareness was much, much lower. I think a month before the election, if I remember right, it was only around 50%. Now my awareness is almost in the 80s, at 70-something%. So that's a very encouraging sign. But of course, we need to even increase those numbers, and we're doing everything we can to do that. I would take this opportunity as well to thank all my supporters, all my volunteers, and yung aking mga children, kasi talagang napakasipag po nila. And they know that we're working this campaign not for any particular candidate, but really for the country.
If Chel Diokno wins a seat at the Senate, what will be the first bill that you will pass? But we need to take a very short break. We will be right back. So let me get an answer to that. If you win a seat at the Senate, what is the first bill that you will file?
Dapat po may libreng serbisyong legal sa bawat baryo. I want to push that will become a reality. In April of last year, I created a free legal help desk on my Facebook page, and I was so surprised that we received around 20,000 questions, legal questions from ordinary people from all walks of life. And that made me realize that ordinary Filipinos do not have access to any kind of answers to the questions they have. Most of the questions that came in really didn't require the services of a lawyer. They simply needed to know, for example, how do I correct my birth certificate?
What were the common questions?
What is yun po, marami pumasok about how do I correct my birth certificate, and there is actually a way to do that without going to court. We got questions from overseas Filipino workers. We got questions about quarantine rules and violations. We got questions about inheritance and succession, issues about the labor, really a whole variety of questions. But most of the questions didn't even really require a lawyer. They just needed to know what the law is. And that led me to think that we should be maximizing our law graduates. Every year, our law schools graduate thousands of Filipino law students. Sayang if those who don't pass the bar, and many of them don't, hindi na nila nagagamit yung pinag-aaralan nila. So I came up with the connect to every barangay through the lupong tagapamit by the local government code. Their purpose is na pag may nag-aaway na magkapitbahay o magkabarangay o magkasyudad, ay magkasundo sila para hindi na umabot sa korte yung kanilang mga kaso. At ang gusto ko sana, ang nais ko ay maikabit natin ang ating mga law graduates at pati na rin yung mga legal aid clinics ng mga law schools natin with the lupon so that they can provide legal knowledge to the lupon and at the same time also provide answers to the questions of residents. Doable po yan at we can also make use of information technology like online consultations to really make this happen. I only had 5 lawyers with me when we created the legal help desk, and despite the small numbers, we were able to answer practically all of the 20,000 questions that came in.
20,000 questions. Siguro and counting pa yan.
Yes.
But it's true. I'll have to say that number one, kaya nga po merong yung mga radyo yung mga AM radio stations natin that give free legal help, hindi ho ba, sa katanungan ng mga kababayan natin sa simpleng bahay, yung boundary ng kanilang bahay, hanggang saan ba pwede yon, kailan ka pwede awayin ng inyong kapitbahay, etc. But yeah, it'll range from what you said, questions that are already part of the law. The problem there, Attorney Chel, is it could be part of the law, but we don't understand it. Kaya po
Precisely.
kailangan namin ng abogado.
Kaya nga, yun nga ang isang nakakalungkot sa atin na the law is reserved only for lawyers. Parang ang nakakaintindi lang ng batas ay ang abogado. Samantalang dapat ang batas ay maintindihan ng lahat. Minsan, I even get questions from journalists like you who cannot understand the meaning of a Supreme Court decision. And
Right.
that's why, if I recall a few years ago, in the 90s, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago was proposing for a plain English statute that all laws should be written in simple English. Palagi ko, it's a time that we start doing that, not only for statutes, but also for court decisions.
I can't agree with you more, but I'll have to tell you, and I hope you don't mind. The reason we ask is because there are many interpretations as there are lawyers. Hindi ho ba? One lawyer can understand a decision one way and the other lawyer can take it in a completely opposite way. Kaya nga sinasabi, yung joke nga po, there are many interpretations as there are lawyers. Aside from that, Attorney Chel, is the last question. What else? What else would you do?
Well, I think we have to address the impact of the pandemic on our economy. I think we should have a national unemployment insurance program for those who have lost their jobs habang sila ay naghahanap ng panibagong trabaho, mabibigyan sila ng ayuda pansamantala. We should also have financial assistance to our MSMEs. Sa napakaraming mga MSMEs natin na talagang grabe ang epekto ng pandemya dahil sa mga lockdown. And they have been waiting for financial assistance from the government. They haven't gotten it. They comprise more than 99% of businesses in the country, and they employ around 64% of our workforce. So pag sila ay nagsara, ang kawawa yung kanilang mga manggagawa at mga pamilya ng mga manggagawa nila. Dapat po mabigyan sila ng financial assistance. Also, I would like to create a pandemic management law that will replace the IATF and require that management of any pandemic must be science-based, evidence-driven, and supported by information technology. And it should also listen to the voice of the private sector. Ang experience kasi, yung learning palagi ko dito sa pandemyang ito ay hindi naman tama yung paggamit ng kamay na bakal dahil hindi naman armadong sundalo bias. Kailangan ibigay natin sa mga ekspertos science at information technology yung pamamahala nito.
Senatorial candidate, Attorney Chel Diokno, sir, thank you so much for your time and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Pinky. Take care.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.